you all are fine, and today we are going to start the chemical bonding part. Yes, and today we'll be discussing about the electrovalent bond, right? So let us immediately start the topic. So firstly we should understand what is chemical bond. What do you understand by a chemical bond? So it is basically what? The force of attraction. The force of attraction between atoms as a result of the redistribution of electrons that holds or binds them together as molecule. Okay, already a little bit idea you have got, yes or no? So what is this chemical bond? It is basically the force of attraction that helps to bind the atoms together. And how it helps to bind, why this force of attraction is taking place? As you already know, it is because of the redistribution of electrons in the particular atom. Okay, as we have already known that there is a force of attraction called the electrostatic force of attraction. We're discussing it now. So basically it is a force of attraction that helps to bind the atoms together in order to form what? Molecules. And this force of attraction is the result of the redistribution of electrons within an atom, right students? So basically there are three types of chemical bonds, okay, namely the electrovalent bond, which we are going to discuss today in detail. Then you have the covalent bond, and the third one is the coordinate bond. So for this class we need these two types of bonds, okay. So turn by turn we'll be discussing in detail about the electrovalent bond as well as the covalent bond, okay. So let us come to the topic, electrovalent bond. So dear students, as we know that the electrovalent bond is also called as what? Ionic bond. It's also called as ionic bond because it is the bond that occurs between two or more ions. Okay, already you know that why atoms form ions, how they form ions. Yes or no? They form cations and anions. So since it is a bond existing between two oppositely charged ions or the oppositely charged ions, so it is called as what? Ionic bond. So first thing to remember about electrovalent bond is that it is formed as a result of transfer of electrons. Okay, it is formed as a result of the transfer of electrons. We will be discussing each and every point. Okay. Secondly, it is formed between a metal and a non-metal, right? So whenever the word electrovalent bond you're able to hear, when you're hearing it, the first thing that should come to your mind is what? It is a bond that takes place basically because of the transfer of electrons from one atom to another, right? An atom may lose electrons, an atom may gain electrons. So it's the actual transfer of electrons that takes place here. And secondly, whenever you see a metal, and it's usually formed between a metal and non-metal. Okay, one of the atom should be a metal and the other atom should be a non-metal. So if you are asked question like what is the bond formed between a metal and non-metal, directly you should answer that it's an electrovalent bond. Okay. So students, you know that metals usually what they have, what 1, 2, 3 electrons, yes or no, in their valence shell. And non-metals have 5, 6 and 7 electrons in their valence shell. Okay. So that is why what happens, a metal usually is the donor. It's the donor of electrons, and non-metals are what? The acceptor of electrons. Clear? In order to attain the stable configuration of the nearest inert gas, in order to become stable, not lose electrons, and whatever electrons are lost by the metals are accepted by the non-metals, right? Okay. Now let us discuss the conditions which are necessary for the formation of electrovalent bond. Okay. So conditions which are necessary. Conditions necessary for the formation of, I can write your ionic bond, okay. Same thing. So for this, the first condition is, students, the metal should have a low ionization potential. The metal should have a low ionization potential. Ionization potential is what? The tendency to lose electrons. The tendency to lose electrons is called as ionization potential, and if a metal has, that means this is what? Ionization potential is actually inversely proportional to losing electrons. Clear? So that means if a metal has a more tendency, that means what? If ionization potential is more, that if ionization potential is more means what? The tendency to lose electron is less. Yes or no? And if ionization potential is less, that means the tendency to lose electrons is more. You know the meaning of inversely proportional, right? So that means the metal should have a low ionization potential, and the non-metal should have high electron affinity. Okay, remember these terms, students. Okay, so what are the basic conditions necessary for the formation of ionic bond? The metal should have a low ionization potential, because high ionization potential means the tendency to lose electron is less. So it should have the tendency to lose electrons should be greater. Okay, so that means it should have low ionization potential, right? Because ionization potential is inversely proportional to what? Losing the electron, the tendency to lose electrons, right? Secondly, the non-metal should have high electron affinity, high desire to accept the electrons. Okay, so it should have high electron affinity. Affinity was what? The tendency, or we can say the desire to accept electrons, right? To accept electrons. So if these two conditions are satisfied, then, and if you have a metal and non-metal, the bond occurring between them is basically what? The ionic bond or the electrovalent bond. Now students, let us understand the electrovalent bond with the help of certain examples, right? Sodium chloride is a very common example, right? So sodium chloride, let us take the example of sodium chloride, the formation of sodium chloride. We know that the electronic configuration of sodium is 281, and the electronic configuration of chlorine is 287, right? So now sodium has to lose one electron in order to become stable. It will attain the electronic configuration of the nearest inert gas, that is what? Neon. Okay. So what sodium does? Sodium will lose one electron, clear? And will become what? A cation. It's the sodium ion, right? Why it is losing electron? Now you are clear about that. In order to become stable, sodium loses, so it develops a unit positive charge. Now what about chlorine? Now chlorine is deficient by one electron. If it gains one more electron in its valence shell, then chlorine will also attain the stable electronic configuration of the inert gas argon, right? So chlorine will accept the electron lost by sodium, okay, and as a result it becomes an anion. This is what? Chloride ion, right? Clear, students? So now you can see here, sodium has developed a positive charge, chlorine has developed a negative charge. So there is a force of attraction that acts between them. It's called as the electrostatic force of attraction, or also termed as the Coulomb force. Okay, the force existing between the charged particles. You know, the unit of charge is Coulomb. It's also referred to as what? Coulomb force. Okay, so this electrostatic force of attraction holds the sodium ion and the chloride ion together as a sodium chloride molecule. Okay, so this is a bond, okay, that exists between the sodium ion and the chloride ion, okay, and helping them to form a molecule of sodium chloride. Clear, everyone? Here, students, one more thing I would like to point out is that you see here the metal is losing electron. Metal is losing electron, and you know that the loss of electron is called as what? Oxidation. It is referred to as what? Oxidation. Chlorine is gaining electrons. So gain of electrons is called as what? Reduction. Okay. So that means in the formation of ionic compounds, when the ionic compounds are formed, it's basically a redox reaction. That means what? Redox reaction is, that means what? Oxidation and reduction takes place simultaneously. Okay, takes place simultaneously. Obviously, it will take place simultaneously because if there is oxidation, obviously there will be reduction. Oxidation, when the metal is losing electron, obviously the non-metal should be there to accept the electrons. So this type of reaction is also called as what? Redox reaction. So loss of, that means the metal atom is getting oxidized. Okay, the metal atom by losing electron is getting oxidized. The non-metal atom by gaining the electron is getting reduced. Okay, so metal is getting oxidized, non-metal is getting reduced. Clear, students? And the metal is getting oxidized and the non-metal is getting reduced. So the reverse thing happens here. What is getting oxidized is called as what? The reducing agent. It is called as what? Reducing agent. And whatever is getting reduced is called as what? Oxidizing agent. Remember it, okay? That means you can see here the metal is getting oxidized. Metal itself gets oxidized, okay? So metal is what? Here in this case sodium is the reducing agent. And chlorine is getting reduced. So chlorine is the oxidizing agent because it accepts the electron donated by the metal, okay? Now let us take another example, the formation of magnesium oxide. Okay, the formation of magnesium oxide. Okay, so magnesium, the electronic configuration of magnesium is 2,8,2 and the electronic configuration of oxygen is 2,6. Yes. So now you can see here, students, magnesium has 2 valence electrons and oxygen has 6 valence electrons. So if magnesium loses 2 electrons, it attains the stable configuration of neon. Okay. So what magnesium does? Magnesium will lose 2 electrons and as a result of that, it will gain 2 positive charges. Right? It becomes a magnesium ion. Now this is an ion. It's a cation. Yes or no? Cation. Magnesium cation. And here magnesium is what? Oxidized. It is oxidized. Okay, because it is losing electrons. So magnesium is oxidized. But on the contrary, it is what? The reducing. So whatever is getting oxidized is the reducing agent. Okay, is the reducing agent. And in order to become stable, oxygen should gain 2 more electrons. So it will gain the electron. Now you can understand why this magnesium oxide compound is formed. It is formed because magnesium has excess of 2 electrons and oxygen is deficit by 2 electrons. So whatever electron is donated or released or it is lost by magnesium is gained by what? Oxygen. Okay. So oxygen gains the 2 electrons lost by magnesium and becomes an anion. Okay, it becomes what? An anion. So oxygen is gaining electrons, so it is getting reduced, but it is the oxidizing agent. Right? So after becoming ions, They are held together by the electrovalent bond. So this bond is actually taking place or actually formed as a result. You can see here the electrons are transferred from magnesium to oxygen. Okay, magnesium basically loses electron and oxygen gains an electron. So in doing that, they develop charge, opposite charge, and that is why a force of attraction called the electrostatic force of attraction holds them together as magnesium oxide molecule. Okay. So by now, students, you must be clear what is this electrovalent bond, right? So what are these electrovalent compounds? Electrovalent compounds or ionic compounds. So these are the compounds which are formed as a result of the formation of ionic bond. Yes or no? So we took the example of, so whenever students you see a metal and non-metal, let's say you have seen a metal sodium chloride, okay? You have seen the compound sodium chloride, you have seen the compound magnesium oxide. Take the example of calcium oxide, okay? Magnesium chloride, okay? So in all these cases you can see why these compounds are formed. One is a metal, one is a non-metal, that means definitely there is an electrovalent bond between them, and that's why these type of compounds are called as what? Electrovalent compounds. And here one more term we should remember, that is electrovalency. Refers to the number of electrons lost or gained or participating, okay, lost or gained, or in one word participating in the formation of electrovalent bond. Okay, that is referred to as the electrovalency of that particular. So what is the electrovalency of chlorine? It's 1. What is the electrovalency of sodium? It's 1, right? So electrovalency refers to the number of electrons lost or gained, or the number of electrons taking part for the formation of what? Electrovalent bond or the ionic bond. Okay. So, and what are electrovalent compounds? The compounds which are formed as a result of the formation of electrovalent bond, as a result of the transfer of electrons from one atom to the other. Okay. So those compounds are referred to as what? Electrovalent compounds. Okay. And briefly let us discuss the properties. What are the properties, important properties? So the first property, students, here you should remember that they have what? They have strong electrostatic force of attraction between them. Electrostatic force of attraction. Clear? First thing, they have strong electrostatic force of attraction. By now you've understood what is this electrostatic force of attraction. Okay. Secondly, they have high melting and boiling points. Right, students? So by now, so if we are asked a question, why these electrovalent compounds have high melting and boiling point? The answer is because they have strong electrostatic force of attraction. Because if there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction, a higher temperature is needed to break the bond in order for melting as well as for boiling. Okay, so they have high melting and boiling points. The third point, students, they are hard, brittle, crystalline solids. Okay, they are hard, brittle, crystalline solids. Why they are hard and crystalline? Because of the same answer, because of the strong electrostatic force of attraction. So when there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction between two atoms, there will be the interparticle space between them will be less. So usually what? They are solids. They are solids, crystalline solids. Okay. They do not conduct electricity in solid form, but conduct electricity in molten or aqueous form. Okay, this is again, now you know that sodium chloride, if you take solid sodium chloride, it won't be able to conduct electricity. Why? What is the reason behind that? The reason is the same, that is a strong electrostatic force of attraction. Now, when the electricity is conducted, when there is a movement of electrons or when there is a movement of ions, okay, when the ions are free to move, then only the electricity will be conducted, yes or no? So in solid state, they are not able to conduct electricity. But same thing if they are dissolved in water. About water, in the water chapter, we have discussed about the high dielectric constant. Water has a high value of dielectric, it's having high dielectric value, yes or no? So that means what? Water is itself actually a polar solvent. We'll be discussing it in the covalent bonding part, okay? So water actually helps in loosening or loosening the bond or breaking the bond between this electrovalent compounds, okay? So that, and in molten or in aqueous state, they are able to conduct electricity because the ions are free to move, but in the solid state, they are not able to conduct electricity through them, right students? Now students, let us briefly discuss how to write the orbit structure and the electron dot symbol or the Lewis symbol, okay? So this is very important as far as from the examination point of view. These questions are usually asked in the exam, okay? So first let us study the orbit structure. Let me show you one example for that. Orbit structure of magnesium oxide. So how are you going to draw it? Okay students? So let us see here. So first there are two atoms here, magnesium atom and oxygen atom. So first you have to draw the electronic configuration, the atomic structure of magnesium and oxygen. Okay. So as usual, as you know, you are going to draw it. So magnesium atom has 12 protons and 12 neutrons, right? It's 12 Mg24, you know that. Here. So there are 3 shells. First shell has 2 electrons, second shell has 8 electrons, and the outermost shell has 2 electrons, right? Here. So this is magnesium atom. So now students, you know that magnesium will lose. So let's first draw the atomic structure of this oxygen also. Oxygen has 8 protons and 8 neutrons. Okay. So you know that magnesium loses its electron and donates it to oxygen. This way you are going to draw the orbit structure. Okay, first draw the atomic structure of magnesium atom and oxygen atom. Okay, next students, magnesium loses 2 electrons to form Mg2+. So the new electronic configuration it is left only with 2 shells now. Okay, it is already lost 12 protons, 12 neutrons. Okay, so this is magnesium ion. This is magnesium ion. Okay, similarly, oxygen gains 2 electrons, clear, and becomes a cation. It becomes an anion. So let us draw the new configuration of oxygen. It has already gained electron from chlorine. Clear? So now this is what? Oxygen ion. Clear? This is oxygen ion. And there is Coulomb force or the electrostatic force existing between these two. Clear? And we can also show the charge. Two minus, 2 plus, and write the new electronic configuration, that is 2, 8, and for this oxygen it is also 2, 8. Clear? So students, you can try this, try writing the orbit structure of various other compounds, ionic compounds, okay? And since you can see here, it's not very convenient to draw the orbit structures, takes a lot of time and it's not very convenient. So for that reason, we have another way of representing this formation of ionic compounds, that is by the Lewis symbol, or it is also called as the electron dot symbol. Okay. So students, in the Lewis symbol or the electron dot symbol, we just represent the valence electrons. Okay. Instead of writing all the shells and all, we just only represent the valence electrons. Let us write the Lewis symbol for magnesium oxide. Okay. So as you can see, magnesium has 2 valence electrons, right? So we can represent it by dot. And what about oxygen? Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. Yes. So these electrons are getting transferred to oxygen. Yes or no? And as a result, what is formed? Magnesium has lost its 2 electrons, so it has developed a 2 plus charge, and oxygen has gained the electron of lost by magnesium. These are 2 electrons gained by oxygen. So as a result, oxygen is carrying a 2 minus charge. So this is the way to write the electron dot symbol. Okay. Now students, let's look at this reaction. The zinc reacting with copper sulfate to form zinc sulfate plus copper. Okay. So now students, you can see here in this case, this is zinc atom having no charge. The charge is 0, it is neutral. Copper is having the charge 0 here. But when this ionic compound is formed, here in this case, it's having 2 plus charge, and this is 2 minus charge, sulfate. In this case, 2 plus charge, 2 minus charge. Okay students, so look at this reaction now. Now zinc, after the reaction, the zinc atom develops a 2 plus charge. That means it has lost the electrons. Obviously, why the 2 positive charges are being developed? Because of the loss of electrons. Clear? And this copper, which was having the charge of 2 plus, has got neutral charge now. Okay, 0 charge. So how can it get neutral charge? Obviously, by the gain of electrons. Okay, 2 plus charge. So obviously, if it gains 2 more electrons, it will develop 0 charge. Yes or no? So that means here there is basically a gain of electrons. Clear students? 2, because when you because plus 2 and minus 2 will give us 0. Yes or no? That means it has gained. The copper has gained electrons and zinc has lost electrons. So losing electron is what? Oxidation. And gain of electrons is what? Reduction. Okay? Zinc is oxidized. So zinc is what? The reducing agent. Reducing agent. And copper is reduced. So copper is called as the oxidizing agent. Okay? So this is an example of what? Redox reaction. Okay students? So I hope students, with this your idea about the electrovalent bond is clear. In the next, and also you just practice the Lewis symbol, writing the Lewis symbol, as well as the orbit structure. Practice the orbit structures of various other ionic compounds. Okay, and the next class we'll be discussing about the covalent bonding. Okay, so till then, take care and study.